Okay. Good. Okay, we are here today.
We are gathered here today.
We're gathered here today. How are you today?
Groovy. How are you?
Good, good, good. My name is Carlton Cartwright. I am the Executive Director for the Children's Coalition Incorporated. And
Pleasure to meet you.
thank you so much. Just going over your paperwork here, and we are at the, what is the name of this place, Melissa?
It's the Veterans Memorial Center on Merritt Island in Brevard County.
And what is your name?
Melissa Martin.
Okay. And I am the Executive Director for the Children's Coalition Incorporated. Again, my name is Carlton Cartwright, and can't find my numbers. Okay. Were you drafted or enlisted?
I was neither. I was commissioned. This,
Okay.
I think it's the third option.
Let's start over.
I volunteered to do that.
Yeah, no, let's just really start over.
Okay, check.
It's all my fault.
Oh, no worries.
Okay. All right. One more time. Anyway, my name is Carlton Cartwright.
Pleasure to meet you, sir.
I'm the Executive Director for the Children's Coalition Incorporated. And we're here at, where are we?
We are at the beautiful Veterans Memorial Center and Museum on Merritt Island.
Okay, and what is your name, Miss?
Melissa Martin.
And Melissa, when were you born?
I was born April 21st, 1976. Do not steal my identity, please. But
Right.
it was a good year.
Yeah, we all get that. And what is your current address?
5404 Brilliance Circle, Cocoa, Florida 32926.
Okay. And let's see. When did you serve?
I served, I was commissioned in May of 1998, and I retired in December of 2014.
What branch of the service did you go into?
The United States Marine Corps.
Okay, and why did you choose that branch?
That's a good story. So, it's the story time, right?
Yeah.
So I had initially, I went to the U.S. Naval Academy for college, and from there our service selection options ranged from air, ground, and Navy to air, ground, Marine Corps, and I guess there's some subs in there somewhere. But the interesting thing was that I learned about the various cultures and the subcultures of each of the platforms for both of the branches.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could say departments and all that. But I learned through the training sessions and exercises and exposure to the fleet during the summer training, and I was definitely drawn toward the Marine Corps for some reason. I didn't grow up as a little girl wanting to be a Marine, but the ethos and the cultural traditions of taking care of your people really appealed to me. I think it started off during plebe summer we had 2 sets of detailers. The second set detail was I guess our platoon commander, not platoon commander, but squad leader, was a Marine before he became a student at the academy.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a second class midshipman at the time, but I think he was a corporal beforehand. But the difference of leadership styles and things that he imparted to us was distinct enough that it caught my attention at that point in time of maybe Marine Corps.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I was drawn toward it. It was, definitely, it aligned with my values, aligned with my inner warrior, I guess you could say, and what I believed was the way to go for me. Okay. So I was just drawn to it.
What is your, just curious, well, what is your ethnic background, your ethnic background?
Sure. I'm My father is white mutt. Um,
Sounds like Belle Glade.
yeah, it's from the hills of West Virginia, and so they, the ancestry has been here before, pre-colonial times, and my mother is Chinese and was born in Thailand, Bangkok, Thailand, but was raised most of her life in Hong Kong. So she's ethnically and culturally Chinese. So I am half and half.
Okay, all right. Where were you where were you born?
I was born in Longwood, Florida. So just right next to, within the Orlando area of Florida.
Okay. All right, is that, okay, so what were you doing prior to going into the military?
In high school, I was doing my high school thing and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I knew at 16, I had this epiphany when I was just watching the local news with my mom. She was doing the laundry. I was just watching the news, and it was just so horrible that one day that I realized I really wanted to, and I knew that I was going to serve my community in some way.
Right.
Serve my community, country. I knew that at that point that I was built to serve.
Okay.
So.
How old were you when you went in? 17, 18?
18.
18. What else? You were getting ready to say something else I didn't.
Oh, no. So at that point, I wasn't really, the military wasn't really on my radar. I honestly was heading toward learning, getting into the art world.
Really?
Woo! But yeah, so I was about to learn art in University of Florida, but I had been accepted and eventually admitted to the Naval Academy. So it served my interest of wanting to serve my country, and learning how to the leadership skills that come with that type of atmosphere was important to my ultimate ideals and intentions for serving my country and community. So I knew that helped, and I knew it would help to establish myself based on my merits, because I already knew at that point in time, at that young age, how the system worked, and the politics, and how things worked. And
Right.
Shouldn't work, but work. So that's kind of why and how I got into the military system.
Okay, excellent. So you said you got chosen or accepted into the Naval Academy? Where is that?
That's in Annapolis, Maryland.
Maryland, okay. And how long were you there? How long?
4 years together by the bay.
Okay, and did you have a major?
Yes.
As far as your academia?
Right. So graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Political Science with a minor in the Spanish language.
Okay. Oh, all right. Cool. What did I want to ask you? Okay, so when you graduated, so what was that like at the Naval Academy? What was that? Was that like? It almost sounds like it was ROTC. What was your job when you got out? When you graduated?
After commissioning, we had 6 months of the basic school in Quantico, Virginia.
Okay.
And from there, a few months into that is when we put our preferences in, and our destinies were chosen for us about our military occupational specialties. So even though admin, becoming an adjutant was lower than pretty much the last thing on my list.
Right.
To include things that I knew I wasn't eligible for because it was male only at the time. But that's how the fates decided that I would start off being an adjutant, and went to school after that in Camp Johnson, which is next to Lejeune.
Just skipping ahead, when you separated, how many years did you stay in the service altogether?
Just shy of 17 years in the Marine Corps.
Okay. So when you separated, what rank were you?
Major.
You were major. Wow. Okay. Excellent. So tell me about school. Tell me about the Naval Academy.
The Naval Academy was a great place to learn a lot of life lessons, in addition to really pushing your brain to its fullest extent.
Okay.
Not just in the academia, but in because we had the academia, which is also already very strenuous,
Mm-hmm.
but also everything else that comes with it. You were in this leadership laboratory where you were either a trainee or a trainer, and so that was like a full-time job in addition to all that. So with that as the core focus of what the academy is all about, we had our extracurriculars and time spent, very very little time spent, socializing, as opposed to those ROTC programs.
Right.
But all in all, it really, I think the hell that we all went through together kind of created this forever fraternity, this siblinghood with
Camaraderie.
with the classmates and other shipmates that went through at the same time. So, or anytime actually.
Why do you call them shipmates?
Well, that's just how we do it. People who graduated in 1940s are, they're my shipmates, same as those that are graduating today. So
I get it. I get it.
It's a big ship.
So 4 years of college,
Mm-hmm.
and then basic training.
And then basic training,
Where?
the Quantico,
Right.
Virginia,
And how long was the basic training?
6 months.
Okay, and tell us about that.
Well, it's designed to ensure everyone's able to lead a platoon of riflemen. So
Okay.
it's infantry centric, and in that sense, it was good because it made every single Marine officer the same, eating the same dirt, going through the same experiences, and
Sounds like fun.
yes. And so it was good. It was hard on the body, and I'm surprised that more people don't die, to be honest,
Right.
with the weather conditions and the number of things that can kill you out there. But it was good. It was, like I said, it's hard for any female to be and survive, not just survive, but thrive in an infantry type of setting, especially in the 90s or before.
Right.
It was so that was just an element that was on top of the already strenuous training and things like that. So so there were different aspects of the basic soul. I think one of the funnier stories, not really funny for me,
Right.
but interesting learning lessons, I should say, was when we were learning line training, and there was I think it was a corporal at the time that was leading the sessions for us newly minted second lieutenants, right?
Okay.
And there's two things I remember from that day. One was that for some reason he kept calling on the females to be the people that pretty much the punching bag for these training movements. And I noticed that, and it's just, what are you going to do or say at that time that things like that are happening? You're there because of equal rights to serve and things like that, but when these small little instances of kind of what they call microaggression now, just because some people don't want you in, they'll make sure that you know it by small but clear things like that. And it was also the only time that I broke a bone in that training. Just it was simple, but it was like not the other person was not following the rules.
Okay.
But who follows the rules in combat? So it was a good lesson.
I understand. Speaking of injuries,
Mm-hmm.
so you were injured.
Over this less than 17 years, just mostly back injuries and slower injuries, like the knees were not good. after that many years. I think also just when we weren't really taking care of ourselves or understood like ergonomics or things like that, over time your body just kind of tells you that that was not a good idea. So, but I would say those are the top service-related injuries that I still deal with.
How long have you been out of the service now?
5 years.
Okay. So, besides yourself, where did you get the injury that you were speaking about in that incident?
Mm-hmm.
Where were you injured?
That was my middle finger actually. It was
okay.
a broken middle finger.
All right.
So it was fun when we were practicing sword detail. I'm sorry.
That's
but
okay.
but yeah, it was straight and hilarious.
Okay. So throughout your general career, besides yourself, injuries, other personnel, military personnel from your unit, did you witness a lot of injuries, other people being injured, casualties, from basic training, from actually in your case, from the Naval Academy on up through, the 17th year?
For myself or
Did
others?
that 4 years in the Naval Academy, did that count?
Not to the retirement or anything, so I don't even mention it. So if you wanted to count it, it would be,
right.
17 plus.
So it was 21 years total from the Naval Academy?
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
All right. Yeah, that's what I was curious about.
Yeah.
Were there any injuries in the Naval Academy?
Yes. I had bilateral stress fractures in my femur bone, so running too hard, I guess. Not even drinking enough milk. I'm not sure.
Oh, just...
So yes, my two femur bones just kind of gave out.
Wow.
I don't know why.
Okay. Are you in disability now?
I'm receiving a disability claim. What do you call it? Yes, checks.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I am.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Okay. Where did you travel? Where were you stationed? After the Naval Academy? Where'd you go after the Naval Academy?
My first station was in Cherry Point.
You went to Quantico for 6 months.
Yes.
And then?
And then I went and got my MOS training at Camp Johnson, North Carolina.
Where's Cherry what now?
Cherry Point is the eastern North Carolina area, about an hour northeast of Lejeune.
Okay.
In Havelock, North Carolina.
Okay.
Anyway, it's an air station, and that was my first duty assignment was with Marine Air Control Group 28, which handles all of the air control.
Okay, air traffic control.
That plus.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think we had a LAD battalion, so. Yeah.
A what?
A LAD battalion.
Science.
Low aerial assault.
Oh. Okay.
Defense, I think.
Okay.
Don't kill me if that's wrong, but something like they hold at least at that time they held the no, I'm forgetting.
That's okay.
The shoulder launch rockets.
Oh, okay.
No, it's been a while.
That's similar to a bazooka, correct?
It's more it's focused on aerial platforms.
Okay.
Shooting at.
All right.
Ships down.
Okay. So yeah, again, were you deployed anywhere ever?
Yes. So to continue the thought, after Cherry Point, I had asked to be a series commander in Parris Island because there weren't a lot of leadership opportunities for adjutants, and that was my biggest opportunity. So they sent me to Parris Island, but when I got there, they said, "Oh, you're an ADJ. We need an ADJ." So I served at Weapons and Field Training Battalion for about a year, and then I had applied to be, since it didn't look like I was ever going to get to the series battalion, or 4th Battalion to be a series commander. I interviewed to be the staff secretary for, the commanding general and chief of staff.
Right.
And I would have made it, but I was pregnant at the time. So they said, sorry, I can't have any pregnant Marines, which was not really legal. But anyway, they put me into the recruiting operations office. So I served a year there, and then they moved me as staff secretary.
How did you feel?
Oh, it was one of those things where,
Emotionally, tell me.
the whole time I knew that there was a strong but waning element of people who didn't agree with my existence. So.
Why? Was it you personally?
The fact that I didn't have a certain appendage on my body.
Incredible.
So.
Were you the only woman around? I mean.
No, there were. There were not a lot of us.
Okay.
And I would say that the most I've ever served with, the most other female Marines I've ever served with was in my first duty station, because there were, lieutenants that also were coming out and were assigned to those types of battalions. But
females?
A few.
Okay.
More than I've experienced later.
Right.
So
okay.
I was pretty lonely after that.
Okay.
But in Paris Island, there were females in the 4th Battalion, but they were busy and focused.
Mm-hmm.
As permanent personnel on the other side, there were also a few, but again, there was not a lot of chance to just hang out and talk.
Right.
Right. And not all of us were alike. So, as far as wanting to have a friendship.
Right.
But otherwise, after my stint at serving as staff secretary for the chief of staff and the commanding general, I applied for law school at that point in time. And so I had favorable recommendations, and I was able to be admitted to the law education program. And so I went to law school for 3 years here in Orlando.
Uh-huh.
And had a naval justice school right after that for 13 weeks up in Newport, Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
And then my first duty station as a judge advocate was back to Paris Island.
Okay.
So and it was a little easier especially female Marines, as we rise in ranks, it's easier to control our own worlds. We are able to express clearly what is acceptable, what's not acceptable. And so my second stint at Paris Island, I was a major soon after being assigned there. So I had more authority and power to control things, and plus I was an attorney, and you don't mess with attorneys as much. Okay. So
how did you finish?
Mm-hmm.
You finished law school?
Yes.
Okay, so you got that 4-year degree in political science and
then
Spanish.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then you got a master's degree or a doctorate?
A Juris Doctorate.
A Juris Doctorate. Mm-hmm. Where did you get that?
Berry University's School of Law.
Online?
Oh, no, here in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there are 2 law schools here. And
okay.
And honestly, this is kind of an underlying current, but my decisions, my requests for certain duty stations here on the East Coast has been circling around the fact that my father was not in good health. And so I wanted to realistically have the opportunity to see him as much as possible.
Right.
And so I always asked for these commands, Marine Corps commands that are closer to Orlando. And that was a deciding factor for my law school, for asking, even though I was already at Paris Island, that it was a different MOS, so they were cool with that.
Right.
And so that's kind of why I stuck around this area most of the time. So, but at my second, a couple years into, maybe 2.5 years into my second stint at Paris Island, my father did pass. And at that point in time, I knew that there were healing issues that needed to happen with my mom and my sister, and I just needed to get back home.
Psychologically.
Psychologically, there were healing issues that needed to happen. So I actually asked to, my assignment monitor, what is the deal with this humanitarian transfer program? Because I just needed to get back home.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of doing the HUMS transfer, they found a slot in MacDill Air Force Base for me with MARCENT, the U.S. Marine Corps Forces Central Command. And I was able to serve in their judge advocate office, staff judge advocate office there, which was only 2 hours away from home, so I could help as much as I could there.
Right.
So during those 3 years, I did not only heal with my family, but also deploy a lot for exercises and meetings over in CENTCOM area of operations.
Where?
Between Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates,
Yeah.
Kuwait, but those are the main ones that we traveled to. I deployed for 6 months to Kuwait and Bahrain, but
Okay.
can't really talk about that one.
I understand. No, I understand.
Yeah, so, and then after that, there was an opportunity for me to serve as a staff judge advocate in Iwakuni, Japan. So I served that out for the remainder of my career.
How long was that tour?
That was cut short because I had applied for the early retirement. So it was about a little less than 2 years, more like a year and a half, something along those lines. But yeah, I was accepted for the early retirement program from there.
Okay. I'm just curious, when you separated, how many children did you have by the time?
Three
'Cause
boys.
I know you had, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And is your husband military?
Yes, I actually found him when he was in the Air Force.
Okay.
Actually, on the fast track, he was doing really well in his career. We met just down the road here on Patrick Air Force Base.
Oh, okay.
Because at that time, I was still an adjutant. This was the year 2000, and I was in Terry Point at the time. And he was also a personnel officer in the Air Force. And we had this joint TAD, DOMI, Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute Equal Opportunity Program Managers course.
Okay. What's TAD though?
Oh, TDY. sorry.
TDY.
A temporary, so six.
Okay.
Yeah, temporary assignment
Right.
duty. And so we were stuck on Cocoa Beach for 6 weeks. What are you gonna do but fall in love? So,
Okay.
when there's a full moon on the beach, what do you just
Storybook.
couldn't
resist.
Can't resist that. So, we had 3 DOMI babies, and
DOMI.
DOMI is the command that held the courses.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Were there ever any casualties in any of your units?
Most of my units, since I was a judge advocate, I was assigned to like headquarters and service battalions and control group type things. So
Right.
I knew of friends and Marines I served with who have been casualties. I've served with Marines that came back as casualties, but they somehow got to serve more, which was nice to see. But you could see the toll it was happening on them emotionally. But there's one fellow judge advocate that was in charge of reviewing FOIA requests. So all of the
What?
FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act.
Okay.
So when news folks or anyone wanted to have a copy of the investigations for various incidents that happened in CENTCOM area,
Right.
when it entailed Marines, we had an investigation at least filed with our office. and we had a contractor and a designated attorney to review every single and redact as necessary every single investigation that occurred. And so that actually took a toll on him to the extent where I don't remember what it was, the diagnosis was, but it was like a form of indirect PTSD symptoms that set in. And in that sense, he was kind of, mentally injured. Someone who I knew and served with was suffering from his. It seems counterintuitive, but just reading is. But if you have any compassion or empathy, you kind of read with those types of eyes, and you relive what went on, be it friendly fire or suicides or just major incidents that dealt with and had pictures of casualties. So doing that every day for many years, I think, hurt him, and I saw that with my own eyes. So, and I was only there to, I only reviewed a small portion of that type of caseload. So I'm familiar with the type of cases that he went through. So it's heavy.
Right. Okay. Were you ever a prisoner of war?
No.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Medals and citations.
Yes. I had a couple of meritorious service medals, a few Navy Marine Corps commendation and achievement medals for my service in various commands, and just being in the service, and during certain times you have the National Defense and GWATs and things like that.
Gotcha. Okay. How did you stay in touch with your family, by the way, while you were...
I was very fortunate to be deployed during a time where the Navy, I think, set it up, the Navy MWR folks, set up the ability to Skype, really.
Okay.
And provide certain computers and that capability for people that are deployed. It didn't immediately come with us. So my first 3 months, we were kind of detached from any of that. It wasn't until we, the second 3 months, that we were in a place that had that type of capability. So the first 3 months were just kind of silent. We wrote snail mail letters and packages.
How did you get along with your instructors, by the way, in school, in the academy part, and also in basic training? What were they like?
The instructors were generally good, professional educators. There was one person who was actually my staff platoon commander, I think is SPC, staff platoon commander, who got into trouble for some shenanigans and eventually got kicked out of the Marine Corps, but is now, or was at the time, serving in the Army. And I believe that he was one of the people who just did not care for females in the Fleet Marine Force, so he helped to design my, he had, I guess, at the time, been able to ensure that I was in the admin field. Whatever. Oh. It all worked out. It's fine.
Okay. Were you ever involved in any battle planning, by the way?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Can you speak about it, or?
Well, I'll just say in generic terms.
Fine. That'll work.
Okay. Marine Corps Forces Central Command has the mission of training, equipping, and taking care of pretty much all the Marines that are deployed in the Middle East area and Central Asia. So the plans and operations that would come up and develop from, you know, the Pentagon would be created and developed in CENTCOM, and
In where?
CENTCOM, Central Command.
Okay.
Same. So we co-located with Central Command, and so as the operational law and international law attorney, which is the billet I was serving in,
Right.
I would go to all of those meetings and speak up when things had to do with rules of engagement or the use of force issues, anything legal which there were plenty of legal issues, bilateral agreements, conventions and treaties and things like that, international law issues, from both the Marines' point of view and also just the legal point of view with the other attorneys that served in CENTCOM. So a lot of skiff time.
What is that?
You have to be, okay, what does skiff stand for? It's, stop, you know this answer already, so it's classified material area spaces, secured classified information facility.
Oh, really? Really?
Okay,
I didn't know.
let's stop it. You know what a skiff is.
Okay, so
Anyway,
moving right along.
yes.
How was the food throughout your career? Not your cooking. I mean, you know, on the base. On the bases. In the Naval Academy, how was the food?
Fattening.
So it was good, huh?
No.
No,
Yeah.
but fattening.
Yeah, it was.
Not great.
It was okay. It was good.
How was it in basic training?
Basic training for the Marine Corps.
In
like
Quantico. Yeah.
That was pretty much. It was good because we didn't eat as much. Whatever we had in our pockets is what we ate. So lots of trail mix bars and
Okay.
things like that. No complaints.
No complaints. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they all say. All right. So anyway, let's see. Did you have all the supplies that you needed throughout your career?
Yeah.
Pretty much. You had everything you needed. So let's just talk for a minute about the overall, unless you have some really specific highlights about pressure and stress.
Pressure and stress. I laugh at it. No, it's that's one of the beautiful takeaway values from this whole experience was very few. It's very few things faze me anymore. And you're much more grateful for things. Just very quickly, just like being deployed without a shower, you know, or even like in a place where there were showers, but you had to like, you know, walk half a mile to get to it, and you know, just being, and it's not always hot, but being able to have a shower every morning, you're grateful for having a shower. For the rest of my life, I'm always grateful.
A warm shower.
A warm shower every morning. So things like that.
Yeah.
And just going through not only the training, but the real life type of anecdotes of injustice or unfairness, or, you know, things that would, for instance, as a female Marine or any, you know, the minority effect of any organization, you're going to have people talking about you, what, you know, regardless of the truth of anything. And so, and one of two things is that really angers me is to have my integrity questioned, right? And the other thing is threatening harm to kids. That you see this demon come out. But so to have your own reputation always being under attack for no reason other than people just not, you know, just not liking females in the Marine Corps. And that wasn't like that the entire time. There was just like little stupid incidents or experiences, mostly in my younger lieutenant days. But things like that just kind of really helped to shape my immunity to it. So, when I ran for office later on, none of that, none of that bothered me. The trolls that come out and, say things and accuse things and just like baseless, groundless lies. I'm like, okay, buddy. And so that piece was nice. The stress and the pressure, I think was, they were a beautiful gift to help really grow not only me, but other veterans into good people.
Okay.
Ideally.
But I guess if it didn't kill you, it made you stronger.
Yes. That's something my husband always says. That which does not kill you makes you stronger.
There you go.
I amended it to every once in a while say, well, it'll make you sick after a while.
Besides the places that you travel to for your tours of duty, and where you were, have we covered every place where you were stationed? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Right. Where else did you travel besides those places?
I had the opportunity to go see the Azores. Azores on my way to a deployment in Greece.
Oh.
When I was a lieutenant assigned to Cherry Point, they had some exercises out there, which was pretty cool. It was quick, but it was neat to see. Really cool to see.
Did you talk about, I don't remember you mentioning Greece. Did you talk about it?
No.
No. Tell us about it.
It was just interesting.
Heraklion, where were you?
It started with a TH.
Thessaly?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. But it was an air control group exercise in support of maybe a 2-mile operation. I'm not sure.
A what?
A 2nd Marine Air. You're good at this. Air Wing.
We want people to understand what you're...
Yeah, I know. You're good.
All that
I just forgot my
code.
My brief sheet.
It's all in code.
My acronym sheet.
Where was she? So anyway, all right.
Yeah.
So R&R.
I didn't really get to see Greece, or there was no leave time, but I did get to, experience not only my first deployment, with the folks out there, but and see how things work in this blow up tent for all these computers and things on the inside.
Right.
But it was just neat to see places that I've never seen before, and I probably had no cause to see afterwards, but it was really beautiful experience.
Okay. All right. Do you recall any particularly humorous or unusual events?
Oh, throughout.
Just give me a couple. Give me two.
Humorous. Man. See, things I should have come in with. Ready.
Well, did you keep a diary?
I did not.
Okay.
I think I kept a journal for a few months here, a few months there type
Right.
of thing, but I wouldn't say anything.
How did you get along with your fellow officers?
Oh, swimmingly? Especially in my, I would say, last few assignments.
Mm-hmm.
In MacDill and Iwakuni, I think those were some of the best friendships, like colleague type friendships, because it was so, especially in MacDill, it was so tough every day, 24 hours. You're just like, you're on the clock at all times because of the time difference over here, because of Pentagon's, taking care of that,
Right.
and different elements were always online, and to be able to be the counselor and legal advisor to my colleagues who were in charge of these plans from the Marcent perspective, it was beautiful. It was just thoroughly professional, and you did your best, and excellence was had, and just like you could see, it was a beautiful thing. And so it was, that was great.
You said the Marcent perspective?
Yes, the unit I was assigned there was Marine Corps Forces Central Command. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't hate me. What about the, you expounded upon officers. What about enlisted? How'd you get along with the enlisted?
I love them. They are the Marine Corps.
Okay.
They're the ones that carry out the mission. They're the ones that you have to take care of. That's our purpose as officers, in my opinion, is
Right.
to take care of the Marines. And one little anecdote that did come to mind when I was trying to scrub through some of the stories was my first assignment in the control group. There was a staff sergeant, and my Marines, we had about 7, 8 Marines in the ad shop, and they could see what was going on occasionally. Just we had an XO that wasn't used to females in the Marine Corps and would say or do things that were ridiculous, but
Can only imagine.
it was it came down to them knowing. It was like when I got my orders to go to Paris Island,
Right.
and they were having a farewell thing for me, and the fact that the tradition in the Marine Corps is that your first assignment, you're supposed to just get a NAM, right, a Navy Achievement Medal, as a thank you, good job, you didn't kill anyone type of. But and our office was in charge of reviewing awards that the CO would be signing off on. So we knew exactly what standards were required, what criteria were part of the Navy Achievement versus Navy Com and things like that. And it was just cute because during my farewell with my Marines, they had put the staff sergeant put colonel's wings on his lapel, and my sergeant put the sergeant major's.
Right.
And they had this fake ceremony to award me a Navy Com because they thought I deserved more.
Oh, well.
It was precious and very rewarding that I had such tremendous Marines that did an incredible job, and that they would feel that esteem for me.
Right.
It was a good moment.
Cool. Good for you.
Yeah.
So where were you when you separated? Were you here?
I was in Japan, and since I was in Japan, you had to come back through the States to administratively take care of things. So I went through Camp Pendleton for a week or so to handle all that, and then came back home, which is Orlando. And I actually spent a few months in my home of record in Longwood, Florida, where I was born and raised, and
Which is near Orlando.
And so that's where my family stayed until our house was ready in Cocoa. And they had actually left before I did a few months because school was starting in August.
For your children?
For my children.
And so what did you do after the service? And did you use it? Well, you'd already accomplished your education, your professional education. So do you have a doctorate? Are you a PhD?
I don't have a PhD. No,
But,
just still a Juris Doctorate.
Right.
I'm still an attorney in good standing with the Florida Bar. I could go back and practice if I wanted to.
Did you when you came out of the service?
Not immediately. I would say that my husband and I kind of high-fived and say, your turn. And so, because he's a magnificent, professional as well, and we all agree that it's his turn to have a career, and so my focus, and one of the main reasons I jumped on the early retirement opportunity was because I wanted to have mommy time before they grew up and left. And so we homeschooled for about 1.5 years, which was amazing and thrilling, like intellectually thrilling, because of all of the stuff I learned by having this homeschool environment for the kids.
Right.
And so it was a great experience. And my oldest, when he was 13, I guess, was wanting to experience high school, which in that sense, I was like, this is your choice. This is your right to experience high school. So he went back to school, and the other two guys followed, and so they've pretty much been in school since then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So okay, after Orlando, you came back separated, but you moved to Cocoa.
Cocoa, yeah.
And so did you use your GI Bill for buy a house or?
No, no.
Okay.
The GI Bill went to my number 3 son, and so the other two we did prepaid scholarships.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. And did you maintain any of your friendships after active duty?
Oh yes, definitely.
Still to this day.
Oh heck yes. I
Okay.
thank goodness for, as much as I hate Facebook, it's like I get to see
Connected.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Okay, nice. All right. So we got your career, and so let's get down to the last question or two. How did the military affect your life, and just how do you feel about war in general, and how have you been affected by having this 17-year career?
In my own world, I have found it to be an incredible gift to have had the opportunity to serve. And what was nice about being salaried is like you didn't have to worry about the how a lot of people in the private sector worry about their income, and you have to do this or say that in order to receive that. It was a nice luxury to not only not have to worry about that, but just do things because it was the right thing to do, because it's a duty, because it's it would make your unit look good, make your Marines look good, just that type of drive was beautiful. The other sense of the luxury was being able to serve with Marines who all shared, they were just all like-minded, and you give it your 110% or you're not really a Marine, and so in that sense it was fun because all these people from all different backgrounds and in every shape and form had come to the same place and pushed their potential to the maximum for the good of the service. And that to me was in and of itself a priceless gift to experience. As far as the big picture, the war and our purpose for being as Department of Defense, it really shows how important elections are, how much, unfortunately, politics plays in some of the strategic decisions, and the fact that elections have consequences. It's a big deal. I mean, it's a huge force of physical and moral will as a national security measure. And so we all know what's going on. We all know what we can do. So it really the crucial point of vulnerability, and on the flip side of that, of excellence, is the commander-in-chief and how he or she would handle that type of responsibility. So war in my understanding and experience and observation and all that, and research and studies, is a necessity that should be the very last resort, due to the tremendous and rippling damages that it causes on our own Americans. So it is something that we it's a necessity for any sovereign nation to have the capability to do harm, kill people and destroy things. But it really should be understood better by everyone who has any influence on it. So.
Okay, well, is there anything else that you'd like to add that you feel like maybe you left out, or?
I mean, there's plenty to talk about, but it is something from me to the Library of Congress to say that I have been lucky to see the evolution of the military as it pertains to women in particular. I came in with similar circumstances as women that came in before me, that even though there may have been like training programs or whatever put in place, the people that were responsible for executing those or implementing those types of programs were not themselves enlightened, so it oftentimes did not do its intent. However, I feel a certain gratitude for the loudmouths in DC who advocated for our interests. And it's a strange dichotomy because the fact that you're a female in the military who your unit and your leaders are saying these people in DC who are the loud, I put loudmouths in quotes, by the way.
Right.
Dakowitz and these congressmen and women who are just, trying to stir up trouble. You have this weird sensation as a female in the military because you're thankful for it, but it's limelighting you in a way you don't want,
Right.
like the whole women in combat controversy. Since you're a woman in the military, the focus comes on you. Like, why do you want to, just, that was kind of an ongoing thing. But understanding the big picture, it was a necessary conversation. It was a necessary controversy to go through and see how things rolled. And honestly, women have been in combat the whole time. It's just a matter of paying them fairly or, things like that. So it's...
Getting you paid, period.
Getting paid, period.
Yeah.
And all the
Which is
combat
only fair.
pay,
Yeah.
and things like that. So it's interesting, and it's almost like a movie, a short movie, to see it all roll out and see today that women are part of just about every single job out there. It's interesting. I mean, there still should be more of a focus on male-female dynamics, and we need to embrace that, not ignore it, in order to get through it and get over it. So it's still ongoing, but it's really nice to see where we are now.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for a wonderful interview, and I also want to thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.